Before 2026 arrives, you must understand this truth. Time is not waiting for permission, and destiny does not respond to excuses. Every new season demands a new version of you. What carried you through the last chapter will not sustain you in the next one. This is not the hour for delay, distraction, or doubt. This is the hour for alignment. Some of you are praying for change while staying loyal to habits that are killing your future. You're asking for elevation but refusing preparation. You want harvest without planting, results without discipline, breakthrough without obedience. Seasons don't shift because you wish, they shift because you do. Before 2026, you must close unfinished chapters. You cannot drag yesterday's pain, last year's failures, and old identities into a new future. What God is about to do requires space. Space in your mind, space in your spirit, space in your schedule. If you don't make room, you will miss moments meant to change everything. This is the season to stop explaining yourself to people who were never assigned to understand you. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Growth happens in silence, strength is built in private, and purpose is refined when applause is absent. Before 2026, you must take responsibility for what happened to you, but for how you respond to it. Victimhood may explain your pain, but it will never produce your power. Ownership is the door enough into authority. The moment you stop blaming is the moment you start building. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified, but you are being called higher, and higher requires discipline. Higher requires courage. Higher requires letting go of what feels comfortable but keeps you stuck. This is not about perfection, it's about positioning. Align your faith with your actions. Align your prayers with your work. Align your vision with your discipline. Because when preparation meets opportunity, favor responds. Do not wait for 2026 to fix what you can confront now. The future is already watching how you handle today. There comes a moment in every life when holding on becomes more dangerous than letting go. It is not because what you're holding is evil, because it never served a purpose, but because its season has expired. Some things are not bad, they're just finished. And the tragedy of many lives is not that they fail, but that they refuse to end what no longer belongs in their future. Endings are uncomfortable because they force us to confront change. We get attached to familiar pain, predictable disappointment, and routines that no longer produce growth. We convince ourselves that staying is safer than starting over. That familiarity is better than uncertainty. Growth has never lived in comfort, and destiny has never been found in stagnation. What refuses to end will eventually drain you, delay you, and diminish the very future you are praying for. Many people are carrying chapters that should have been closed years ago. Old mindsets, old relationships, old fears, old versions of themselves that once survived a storm but were never meant to build a future. Survival mode is useful in crisis, becomes destructive when you try to live there permanently. You were not created just to survive. You were created to evolve, expand, and build. Ending what no longer belongs does not mean you failed. It means you learned. It means you grew enough to recognize that something which once fit can no longer contain who you are becoming. Shoes that once protected your feet will hurt you if you refuse to change them when you grow. In the same way, outdated beliefs, habits, and connections will begin to wound you when your capacity expands but your environment remains small. There are relationships you must release. Not because of hatred, but because of direction. Everyone who walked with you in one season is assigned to travel with you in the next. Some people were meant to introduce you, not accompany you. Some were meant to teach you, not stay with you. Holding on out of loyalty to the past can cost you alignment with your future. And sometimes the hardest goodbye is not to people, but to the version of yourself that tolerated less than you were called to have. You must also end internal conversations that keep you imprisoned. The voice that says you are too late. The voice that replays past mistakes like a broken record. The voice that tells you you've already missed your chance. Those voices are not truth. They are echoes of fear. If you don't silence them, they will sabotage every new opportunity before it has a chance to grow. You cannot build a future while constantly rehearsing a past that is already over. Ending what no longer belongs also requires courage to confront habits that quietly rob you. Habits don't have to be dramatic to be destructive. Procrastination, inconsistency, avoidance, overthinking, these are subtle thieves. They don't attack loudly, they drain slowly. And because they feel normal, we underestimate their cost. What you do repeatedly becomes what you believe is possible. If you want a new future, you must end routines that reinforce an old one. There is also a need to end your attachment to validation. Waiting for approval from people who do not understand your calling is a recipe for delay. Some doors will never open because you are still asking permission from voices that were never meant to lead you. When you know what you are called to do, you must be willing to stand alone long enough for results to introduce you. Growth often begins the moment you stop explaining yourself. What no longer belongs may feel like loss, but it is actually preparation. Nature itself teaches this lesson. Trees shed leaves not because they are dying, because they are preparing to survive the next season. If they refuse to release what no longer serves them, the weight would destroy them. In the same way, letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that you cannot carry everything forward and still expect to move freely. You must also end the habit of living in reaction mode. Constantly responding to crises, opinions, and external pressure keeps you trapped in survival. Purpose requires intention. Vision requires stillness. If you never stop reacting, you will never start leading your life. Ending chaos sometimes means stepping back, getting quiet, and choosing direction over drama. The future demands space. Space in your mind to dream again. Space in your schedule to build. Space in your spirit to believe without fear. What occupies your time, energy, and emotions determines what you have room to receive. If your hands are full of what's familiar, you won't be able to hold what's next. You cannot receive new wine while clinging to old containers. Understand this: endings are not punishments, they are transitions. They are signs that you are being moved, refined, and repositioned. What feels like closure today may be the foundation for clarity tomorrow. The discomfort you feel is not because you are doing something wrong, it's because you are doing something necessary. As you move forward, don't rush the ending, but don't resist it either. Honor what was, learn from it, thank it for the role it played, then release it with grace. Carry the wisdom, not the weight. Carry the lesson, not the limitation. You owe it to yourself to stop living in chapters that are already complete. Future you are praying for requires a version of you that is unburdened, focused, and free. Ending what no longer belongs is not about destroying your past. It's about protecting your destiny. And when you finally let go, you will discover that what's ahead has been waiting for the space you were afraid to make. Time is the most honest force in your life. It does not argue, negotiate, or wait for readiness. It moves forward with or without your permission, and while you are deciding, doubting, or delaying, it is already shaping outcomes. The uncomfortable truth is this: time will change you, or you will change with intention. And if you do not change your habits, time will eventually change your circumstances in ways you did not choose. Habits are not dramatic. They don't announce themselves with noise or urgency. They form quietly, repeating themselves day after day until they become identity. What you consistently do in private becomes what you eventually live in public. The life you are living right now is not an accident. It is the visible result of invisible routines you have practiced over time. That is why wishing for change without changing habits is one of the most common forms of self-deception. Many people believe transformation comes from one big moment, one breakthrough, one opportunity that suddenly fixes everything. Real change rarely happens that way. It happens through small, repeated decisions that seem insignificant in the moment but compound over time. A habit practiced daily will always overpower a goal merely spoken occasionally. You don't rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your routines. Time does not respond to excuses. It doesn't pause because life was hard, because resources were limited, or because motivation was low. While you were explaining why you couldn't, time was recording what you did instead. And what you do instead of what you say you want becomes the direction of your life. If you do not take control of your habits, you will wake up one day wondering how years passed with little progress to show. Habits shape your thinking before they shape your results. The way you start your mornings, the way you speak to yourself, the way you respond to pressure. These patterns determine whether you move forward or remain stuck. Negative habits don't always look destructive. Sometimes they look like comfort. Sometimes they look like overthinking, procrastination, staying busy, but avoiding what matters most. They feel harmless because they are familiar, but familiarity does not equal safety. One of the most dangerous habits is delay. Telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," trains your mind to disrespect urgency. Tomorrow becomes a comfortable lie that steals today's potential. Time delay becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. The longer you postpone discipline, harder it becomes to respond when opportunity finally arrives. Opportunity favors those whose habits prepared them long before the moment came. Changing habits requires honesty. You must stop blaming circumstances and start examining patterns. It's easy to point at lack of time, lack of support, lack of resources, but the real issue is often lack of structure. You have time for what you prioritize. You find energy for what matters to you. And what you repeat daily reveals what you truly value, not what you claim to value. Habits also decide your relationship with growth. Reading, learning, listening, reflecting. These are habits that expand your capacity. Neglecting them keeps you dependent on outdated thinking in a changing world. Time will always demand growth, and if your habits are not upgrading your mind, you will find yourself unprepared for new levels of responsibility. Future does not belong to the most talented, it belongs to the most consistent. Discipline often feels restrictive at first, but in truth, it is what creates freedom. The habit of managing your time frees you from chaos. The habit of controlling your thoughts frees you from anxiety. The habit of taking action frees you from regret. What feels like sacrifice today becomes strength tomorrow, but if you avoid discipline now, time will eventually force consequences that are far more painful than effort ever was. There is also the habit of self-talk, how you speak to yourself when no one is listening. If your internal dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, self-criticism, no external success will ever satisfy you. Time will only amplify what you believe about yourself. If you believe you are limited, your habits will protect that belief. But when you change the way you speak, think, and respond, you slowly reprogram your future. Changing habits is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming aligned with who you are meant to be. It is about closing the gap between your potential and your daily practice. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistent commitment. Even small changes, when repeated, create momentum. Momentum is powerful because once it starts, it carries you further than motivation ever could. Time is already moving. It is already forming outcomes. The question is not whether your life will look different in the future. The question is whether that difference will be intentional or accidental. If you don't choose your habits, time will choose consequences for you, and consequences are never as gentle as discipline. So begin now, not with grand promises, but with deliberate actions. Change how you begin your day. Change what you feed your mind. Change what you tolerate. Change what you repeat. Because every habit is a vote for the future you are becoming. Do not wait for time to teach you lessons you could learn through discipline. Change your habits before time changes without you, because the future belongs to those who prepared while others were postponing. Your focus is one of the most valuable assets you possess, yet it is also one of the most unprotected. In a world that constantly demands your attention, the ability to concentrate has become rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. What you focus on determines what grows in your life. What you allow to drain your energy determines how far you can go. If you do not protect your focus and guard your energy, you will find yourself exhausted, distracted, and busy yet unfulfilled. Focus is not just about attention, it is about direction. When your focus is scattered, your efforts become shallow. You may be doing many things, but nothing deeply enough to produce real results. Distraction doesn't always come in the form of obvious temptations. It comes disguised as urgency, noise, or the opinions of others. Not everything that demands your attention deserves your response. When you respond to everything, you surrender control of your purpose. Energy is limited. You wake up each day with a finite supply. How you spend it determines what remains. When energy is wasted on conflict, comparison, and constant explanation, there is little left for creativity. growth, and vision. Many people are tired not because they are doing too much, but because they are doing too much of what doesn't matter. Protecting your energy means being intentional about where you invest your emotional, mental, and spiritual strength. One of the greatest threats to focus is overexposure. Too many voices, too many opinions, too much information. When you consume everything, clarity disappears. Your mind was not designed to process endless noise. It was designed to create, decide, and build. If you constantly scroll, react, and absorb, you lose the space required to think deeply. Silence is not emptiness. It is fuel for focus. Guarding your energy also requires boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of isolation. They are gates of wisdom. They allow what aligns with your purpose to enter while keeping out what drains you. Without boundaries, you become available to everyone but present for no one, especially yourself. Saying yes to everything is not kindness, it is self-neglect. Every unnecessary yes costs you a necessary no somewhere else. There are people who consume energy without adding value. Conversations that leave you drained. Environments that trigger anxiety. Expectations that pressure you to perform rather than grow. Guarding your energy means recognizing these patterns and choosing differently. This is not about arrogance. It is about stewardship. You cannot pour into your future if your present is constantly leaking strength. Focus also requires discipline of thought. What you repeatedly think about shapes your emotional state and your decisions. If your thoughts are dominated by fear, regret, or comparison, your energy will follow. You will feel tired even when you haven't done much. Mental clutter creates emotional fatigue. Clearing your mind is not a luxury. It is a necessity for progress. Protecting your focus means learning when to disengage. You do not have to attend every argument, explain every decision, or correct every misunderstanding. Some battles are distractions designed to pull you away from what matters most. When you feel the urge to react, pause and ask yourself whether this will move you closer to your purpose or further from it. Not every reaction deserves your energy. Your focus determines your growth. Whatever you concentrate on improves. Athletes train their bodies, artists train their vision, leaders train their thinking. Focus on problems, problems multiply. If you focus on possibilities, solutions emerge. Focus is not denial of reality. It is the deliberate choice to give your attention to what empowers rather than weakens you. Energy is also affected by how you treat yourself. Poor rest, inconsistent routines, and neglect of personal well-being all contribute to depletion. You cannot expect clarity when your body and mind are constantly exhausted. Rest is not laziness, it is refueling. Even the strongest machines require maintenance. Guarding your energy means respecting your limits so you can extend your impact. The world will always compete for your attention. Notifications will never stop. Opinions will never run out. Demands will always increase. That is why focus must be intentional, not accidental. You must decide in advance what deserves your attention and what does not. When you live reactively, your energy is spent on emergencies. When you live intentionally, your energy is invested in outcomes. As you move forward, understand that focus and energy are connected. When your focus is clear, your energy is concentrated. When your focus is divided, your energy is scattered. Protecting one strengthens the other. The ability to say no, to disconnect, to be still, to prioritize. These are not weaknesses in a fast world. They are survival skills for those who want to build something meaningful. Protect your focus because where your attention goes, your life follows. Guard your energy because without it, even the clearest vision will remain unrealized. Future belongs to those who learn to concentrate their power instead of dispersing it. There is a hidden exhaustion that comes from constantly explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. It is the fatigue of defending your choices, justifying your growth, and translating your vision into language that fits someone else's limitations. Over time, this habit drains confidence, weakens clarity, and pulls you away from your true direction. Not everyone deserves an explanation, and learning that truth is a major step toward maturity and purpose. Many people explain themselves not because they are wrong, because they are uncomfortable being misunderstood. They fear rejection, judgment, or conflict, so they over-communicate in hopes of being accepted. Explanation does not always bring understanding. In fact, the wrong audience will hear your explanation and still distort it. Because they are not listening to support, you are explaining to satisfy their discomfort, not your own clarity. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you. No amount of detail will change their perspective because their issue is not confusion, it is control. They want access to your decisions so they can influence them. They want explanation so they can critique, delay, or redirect your movement. Explain yourself to such people. You hand them authority over your peace. Vision is fragile in its early stages. Before results appear, purpose looks like confusion to people who lack discernment. They cannot see what you see because they are not meant to. When you explain prematurely, you expose unfinished ideas to unqualified opinions. Many dreams die not from lack of potential, but from overexposure to the wrong voices. Protection is not secrecy, it is wisdom. You must understand that alignment matters more than approval. The right people do not require constant explanations. They recognize direction even when details are incomplete. They trust the process because they respect the person. The wrong people, however, demand proof before progress. They ask questions not to learn, but to doubt. And if you allow them, they will turn every explanation into a cross-examination. Explaining yourself also becomes a habit of self-doubt. When you repeatedly justify your choices, you start questioning them. Confidence erodes not because you were unsure to begin with, but because you allowed external opinions to become louder than your inner conviction. Purpose requires decisiveness. It requires the courage to move forward without consensus. There is a difference between accountability and explanation. Accountability is shared with those who are invested in your growth. Explanation is often offered to those who are invested in your comfort or conformity. You do not owe everyone a seat at the table of your decisions. Access must be earned through trust, alignment, and respect. Silence is often more powerful than speech. When you stop explaining yourself, you create space for results to speak. Results clarify what words never could. They end debates, silence critics, and establish credibility. People who doubted your direction will eventually understand through outcomes what they could not grasp through conversation. There will be seasons when obedience looks like isolation, when clarity demands quiet, when progress requires privacy. This is not punishment. It is preparation. Builders work best without a crowd. Foundations are laid underground. If you explain every step, you will feel pressure to perform instead of freedom to grow. Stop explaining yourself to people who minimize your calling, question your motives, or benefit from your hesitation. Stop translating your vision into smaller language so others feel comfortable. You were not created to fit into everyone's expectations. You were created to fulfill a specific assignment, and that assignment does not require universal approval. Misunderstanding is not the enemy. Distraction is. When you are busy explaining, you are not building. When you are busy defending, you are not advancing. Energy spent on explanation is energy stolen from execution. And execution, not explanation, produces transformation. Trust that those who matter will understand in time. And those who don't understand were never meant to lead you. Your responsibility is not to be understood by everyone. It is to be faithful to what you are called to do. There is a profound power that comes when a person stops blaming, stops pointing fingers, and takes full responsibility for their life. It is a power that transforms circumstances, transforms character, and ultimately transforms destiny. Many people live in a state of reaction. They respond to life, react to challenges, and let conditions dictate their emotions. The moment you accept that your life is your responsibility, you step into authority. You move from being a passenger to being the driver of your journey. Taking full responsibility does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending that life has been fair. Life will not always be fair, and circumstances will often test your limits. Yet responsibility is not about what has happened to you. It is about how you respond to what has happened. Two people can face the same difficulty, and one will grow stronger while the other will grow bitter. The difference is the choice to own the outcome rather than surrender to it. Many people spend years blaming others, blaming parents, society, circumstances. or even God. While this may temporarily soothe their conscience, it never produces results. Blame shifts attention outward when it should be focused inward. Every excuse, every justification, every rationalization is a barrier between you and your breakthrough. Responsibility is the recognition that, regardless of external factors, your actions, decisions, and mindset determine your future. Taking responsibility begins with the mind. It starts with recognizing that you have authority over your thoughts. You decide what you believe about yourself, about others, and about your future. Negative thinking, self-doubt, and fear are not obstacles. They are signals that you have surrendered control to outside forces. When you take responsibility, you reclaim your thoughts and with them your life. Actions are the next level. Responsibility is not passive, it is active. It means showing up, doing the work, refusing to wait for permission. It means taking steps, even when the path is unclear, even when motivation is low. Life does not reward excuses. It rewards those who act despite fear, uncertainty, or lack of approval. Every small action you take, no matter how imperfect, compounds into results. Taking responsibility also involves acknowledging your mistakes. Many people fear failure because they see it as a reflection of their worth. Responsibility turns mistakes into lessons. Every wrong choice, every setback, every failure contains information about what needs to change. Accepting accountability for your missteps is not shame, it is strength. It signals that you are mature enough to learn, adjust, and grow. Another essential aspect of responsibility is refusing to be a victim of circumstance. Life may have handed you pain, rejection, or loss, but these events are not your identity. Your identity is not determined by what happened to you. It is determined by what you choose to do with what happened. Victimhood is a temporary state that becomes permanent only when you allow it. Responsibility is the bridge from suffering to purpose. Taking full responsibility also requires courage to make decisions. Decisions are rarely easy, and the fear of being wrong often paralyzes people. Inaction is a choice too, and it carries consequences. Responsible people understand that indecision is not safety, it is stagnation. They weigh their options, trust their judgment, and act decisively. Even when the outcome is uncertain, action demonstrates ownership. Responsibility extends to your environment. You are responsible for what you expose yourself to. People, information, habits, and routines. If you allow negativity, distraction, or toxicity to dominate your surroundings, you are indirectly choosing stagnation. Owning your life means curating your environment to support growth, not hinder it. The people, spaces, influences you embrace are a reflection of your commitment to your future. Taking responsibility is also about accountability to yourself. Many people live as though someone else will fix their problems, save them, or guide them perfectly. True responsibility is knowing that you are the ultimate authority over your life. You cannot outsource courage, discipline, or persistence. No one can live your life for you, and no one can experience your growth. For your ownership is personal, internal, and non-negotiable. Spiritual dimension of responsibility cannot be ignored. Life often presents challenges that seem unfair, and faith can be tested. Responsibility does not mean denying divine guidance, but it does mean pairing faith with action. Prayer, vision, planning must be matched with personal effort. Faith without responsibility is passive hope. Responsibility without faith is cold effort. Together, they produce unstoppable momentum. Taking full responsibility transforms relationships too. When you own your actions and your role in outcomes, you stop blaming others for conflict or disappointment. You begin to communicate clearly, act with integrity, and hold yourself accountable. Others are drawn to people who take responsibility because they exude reliability, trustworthiness, and maturity. Responsibility is magnetic because it signals that you are capable of leadership, first in your own life, then in the lives of others. Perhaps the most profound impact of responsibility is on personal freedom. The moment you stop blaming, stop waiting, and stop explaining your failures to others, you become free to act. Freedom is not the absence of difficulty. It is the mastery of self in the midst of difficulty. Responsible people do not complain, they act. They do not linger in regret, they plan. They do not wait for change, they create it. Your life is a reflection of the choices you make, the actions you take, and the attitude you carry. Taking full responsibility is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment. It requires vigilance, honesty, and courage. It means saying, I may not control everything that happens to me, but I control how I respond. I may not be able to choose my past, but I can shape my future. I am the author of my story, and I will write it with integrity, purpose, and determination. Life will test you. Circumstances will challenge you. People will misunderstand you. But the person who takes full responsibility refuses to be defined by these tests. They understand that external forces can only shape them if they allow them to. They understand that real power lies not in blaming, complaining, rationalizing, but in choosing every day to act, to grow, and to rise above limitation. So take responsibility, not because life is easy, because you are destined for more. Take responsibility, not because it is popular, but because it is necessary. Take responsibility, not because anyone is watching, but because your future is waiting. When you accept full ownership of your life, you step into authority, freedom, and purpose. You stop being a passenger in your story and become the driver, the builder, the architect of your destiny. Take full responsibility for your life today. Decide that you will no longer allow circumstances, people, or excuses to dictate your direction. Stand firm in your power, act with intention, and watch how your life transforms when ownership replaces blame, courage replaces fear, and responsibility replaces passivity. There is a season in life where the world will not understand your journey. There is a time when your efforts will go unnoticed, your sacrifices unseen, and your progress invisible. It is in this quiet, unobserved space that real growth is cultivated. True success is rarely born out of public approval. It is nurtured in silence, in focus, in unwavering commitment to what you know is yours to build. The world often waits for results before it celebrates. Those who understand this principle learn the power of building quietly, then letting outcomes announce their arrival. Building in silence requires patience. Too many people rush toward recognition, craving applause before results are even tangible. They post updates, they announce intentions, they seek validation for actions that are incomplete. But this only exposes them to criticism, doubt, and distraction. When you build in silence, you are protected from outside interference. You are free to experiment, to fail, and to learn without the pressure of expectation. Silence is not stagnation, it is preparation. The quiet seasons are not empty, they are fertile. While the world is distracted by what they can see, your focus is on what is possible. Every unseen effort, every unrecorded hour of practice, every small adjustment you make compounds over time. Growth in silence is like roots developing underground, strong, resilient, and unshakable. When the time comes for fruit, it is not flimsy. It is fully formed, ready to withstand scrutiny. One of the challenges of building in silence is resisting the need for approval. Many people believe that if others are not watching, they are not succeeding. They feel compelled to announce every step, to prove every effort, to gain affirmation before results exist. External validation is fleeting. It is unstable and often comes from people who do not fully understand your vision. True builders measure success not by attention, but by progress, not by applause, but by alignment with their purpose. Silence is also a shield against envy and sabotage. When your growth is public too early, you expose yourself to competition, jealousy, and negative opinions. Everyone celebrates your progress. Some people are threatened by it. Those who announce every effort before results are vulnerable to criticism and interference. But those who cultivate quietly protect their process, guard their focus, and allow their work to mature undisturbed. Discipline is the backbone of silent growth. To build without recognition requires commitment to routines, consistency in effort, and faith in your unseen labor. There will be days when motivation wanes, doubt creeps in, and when progress feels invisible. It is during these moments that discipline carries you forward. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline sustains long-term achievement. When you build in silence, your daily choices accumulate, and momentum grows unseen until it is undeniable. Patience is equally essential. The world has conditioned us to expect instant results. We scroll through highlight reels of other success, forgetting that what we see is often the end of a long, private journey. Silent builders understand that time is necessary for mastery. They trust that consistent effort will eventually reveal itself. Every step taken with focus and intention, though unnoticed now, is building the foundation for impact that cannot be ignored. Faith plays a critical role in this process. Building in silence often requires belief in yourself when others do not. It requires trusting the process even when results are delayed, remaining committed even when recognition is absent. Faith is the assurance that your efforts are not wasted and that the work you are doing today will pay dividends tomorrow. When you build in silence, faith becomes your companion, your motivator, and your anchor. Results are the language of achievement. While words can be debated, outcomes cannot. What you produce, accomplish, or create speaks louder than any explanation you can offer. Silent builders let their results communicate their capabilities, their dedication, and their vision. They understand that recognition is not earned by announcements, but by outcomes that are undeniable, measurable, and impactful. The noise comes naturally when the work is complete. Building in silence also strengthens character. It teaches resilience, humility, and self-reliance. When no one is watching, you learn to depend on your own standards, your own discipline, and your own integrity. You are not performing for applause. You are building for purpose. This kind of work produces confidence that is not dependent on approval, courage that is not dependent on spectators, and results that are not diluted by external influence. Many people fail because they misunderstand visibility and impact. They believe that being loud equals being effective. But noise without substance is fleeting. Results without noise are lasting. Those who build quietly are often underestimated, dismissed, or overlooked. Yet when outcomes manifest, there is no disputing their significance. The quiet laborers become the undeniable leaders, innovators, and creators, the ones whose work has depth, influence, staying power. Silent building also creates space for strategic thinking. When you are not constantly defending or explaining your actions, your mind is free to focus on growth, problem solving, and creativity. Silence allows you to think deeply, plan thoroughly, and act wisely. It provides clarity that is often obscured when you are entangled in external opinions or chasing immediate recognition. Furthermore, building in silence teaches gratitude for the process. You learn to appreciate each small victory, each incremental step, and each lesson learned along the way. You cultivate patience, humility, and a long-term perspective. When results finally arrive, they are not only proof of your ability, they are testimony to your perseverance, your discipline, and your faith in the unseen. In conclusion, the world will always crave noise. People will always announce, compete, and display before results exist. But those who understand the power of silence recognize that real influence, real impact, and real success are cultivated in privacy, focus, and consistency. Build in silence, refine your craft, invest in your growth, and trust the process. Let your results do the talking. Let outcomes reveal your effort, your wisdom, and your vision. When your work finally emerges, the world will hear the noise of your success, and it will be undeniable, unshakable, and everlasting. Faith is often spoken of as a belief, a feeling, or a hope for something better, yet faith alone without action remains dormant. Many people claim to have faith but fail to see their lives transform because they are waiting for circumstances to change before they move. True faith is not passive, it is active. It is faith that rolls up its sleeves, steps into discomfort, takes deliberate steps toward the promises it believes in. The secret to strong, unshakable faith is consistent action day after day, even when outcomes are unseen. Faith without action is like a seed left on the surface of the soil. It has potential, but it will not grow. The moment you couple belief with effort, the impossible begins to bend toward possibility. Every act of consistency, no matter how small, reinforces the structure of your faith. It transforms abstract hope into tangible progress. Faith is strengthened when it is tested by challenges, exercised in obedience, and proven through tangible steps, not merely words or declarations. One of the reasons people struggle with faith is inconsistency. They pray when they feel inspired, pursue opportunities when it feels convenient, and trust when the results are visible. But faith is cultivated in the ordinary, mundane, and sometimes uncomfortable moments. It is strengthened in the repetitive, in the habitual, and in the persistent pursuit of what is promised. regardless of how long it takes or how invisible the progress may seem. Consistency is the engine that drives faith from concept to reality. Action transforms belief into experience. You cannot know the power of faith without living it. When you consistently act on your convictions, you develop confidence, not in yourself alone, but in the process, in timing, and in the force behind your purpose. Each intentional step reinforces the truth that faith is more than wishing. It is responding, moving, and acting even when fear whispers that it is impossible. Faith without action remains theory. Faith with action becomes a living testimony. Challenges and delays are not indicators that faith has failed. They are opportunities for it to be strengthened. Life is rarely linear. Opportunities may seem blocked, prayers may appear unanswered, and results may be delayed. In those moments, consistent action is the bridge between belief and breakthrough. Every time you take a step in obedience, in courage, and in alignment with your purpose, your faith grows. Each action becomes a brick, building a foundation sturdy enough to withstand storms and opposition. Faith requires risk. Consistent action often means moving before certainty arrives, stepping into situations where success is not guaranteed, and embracing discomfort. Yet risk is necessary because faith is not passive hope. It is trust that propels you forward even when visibility is limited. Each act of courage reinforces your trust in your purpose and your confidence in what is possible. When faith is tested by action, it becomes unshakable. Resilient and dynamic, action also provides proof, both to yourself and to others. Words can be doubted, promises can be questioned, intentions can be ignored, but results speak. Small, consistent actions accumulate over time, producing outcomes that validate your belief. Faith grows as it is exercised, tested, and proven. Even failures, when followed by continued effort, serve as lessons that refine understanding, deepen commitment, and strengthen the foundation of belief. Consistency in action requires discipline. It is not enough to move sporadically, driven by emotions or circumstance. Faith grows when there is a pattern, a structure, and a daily rhythm of obedience and effort. Discipline ensures that momentum is maintained even when motivation wanes. When faith is paired with structured, repeated action, it becomes a force that shapes reality, not a wish waiting for life to accommodate it. Action also teaches patience. Results rarely manifest overnight. Faith is strengthened when you learn to persist in the process, when you continue to sow, nurture, and believe, even when the harvest is delayed. Each day you choose action over hesitation, commitment over complacency, and effort over inaction, you reinforce the muscle of belief. Patience is not passive waiting. It is persistent working, trusting that what you are doing now will produce fruit in time. Faith and action are intertwined with vision. Without a vision, action can become directionless and faith can become shallow. But when you have clarity about what you are working toward, every step you take becomes meaningful. Each act reinforces your belief that your goals, your dreams, calling are achievable. Consistent action aligned with vision transforms abstract faith into concrete reality. Aspect of strengthening faith through action is accountability. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who challenge, inspire, hold you responsible enhances your consistency. Action in isolation is possible, but action within a community of support reinforces commitment. Faith thrives when it is exercised publicly in the right context, and when others witness consistent efforts, it multiplies, inspiring both perseverance and growth. Faith strengthened by action also strengthens character. It teaches resilience, patience, courage, and discipline. It shows you what you are capable of even under pressure. It proves that your beliefs are not empty words, but principles that guide decision making, effort, and behavior. Action validates faith in a way that contemplation alone cannot. It transforms potential into reality and belief into living experience. Finally, consistent action fueled by faith creates momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that keeps progress moving forward even in adversity. Every small effort, repeated daily, compounds into significant results over time. Momentum turns challenges into opportunities, obstacles into stepping stones, and faith into proof. It creates a cycle where belief motivates action, action strengthens faith, and faith inspires further action, producing unstoppable growth. In conclusion, Faith is not just a feeling or a declaration, it is a discipline. It is cultivated through consistent, intentional action taken day after day. Even when results are not immediately visible, faith is strengthened when it is tested, exercised, and proven through the choices we make and the steps we take. Every act of obedience, courage, and persistence reinforces belief. Every challenge faced with consistent effort deepens trust. Every small step taken in alignment with purpose builds the foundation for a future that faith alone could never reach without action. Strengthen your faith today by committing to consistent action. Move even when you do not see the full path. Act even when the outcome is uncertain. Persist even when it feels invisible. Each step you take is a testament to your belief, a declaration of trust, and a building block toward the life you are destined to live. Faith is not complete until it moves. Faith is not alive until it acts. And faith, strengthened by consistent action, is unstoppable. Comfort is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a silent prison. It feels safe, familiar, and predictable, and yet it is often the very thing that keeps you from stepping into your purpose. Your calling, the unique assignment, mission, or destiny you were born to fulfill rarely waits for convenience. It asks for courage, resilience, and risk. It demands that you release comfort, step into uncertainty, and embrace growth that feels uncomfortable but is necessary. If you remain too comfortable, your calling will pass by while you are content with what is safe. Most people underestimate the cost of comfort. They believe that stability and ease are signs of progress, when in reality, comfort can disguise stagnation. You may have routines, environments, and habits that feel secure, but if they are preventing you from stretching into your potential, they are chains disguised as cushions. Comfort is seductive because it provides immediate satisfaction, but it does not cultivate strength, vision, or purpose. To access your calling, you must be willing to let go of what is easy and familiar. Stepping out of comfort requires courage because it involves leaving behind what feels predictable. It may mean leaving a job that provides security but not fulfillment. It may mean ending relationships that are safe but not supportive. It may mean leaving a mindset that is familiar but limiting. The path to purpose is rarely smooth, and it almost never aligns perfectly with ease. Your calling often requires sacrifice, discomfort, and persistence. Comfort can also lull you into waiting. Many people say they are preparing for their destiny. They are really preparing for a more comfortable future. They postpone growth, delay risks, and cling to the familiar because the unknown feels threatening. Yet destiny is not compatible with waiting indefinitely. Every moment spent in the safety of comfort is a moment delayed in purpose. Time will not wait for readiness. It demands action. Releasing comfort is not reckless. It is a declaration that your vision matters more than your fear. Growth and comfort rarely coexist. Comfort teaches you how to survive. Challenge teaches you how to thrive. Purpose stretches, and stretches again, requiring resilience, flexibility, and courage. Each new level of calling comes with new demands that will feel uncomfortable until they become familiar. The process of stepping into your purpose is like walking through fire. It is uncomfortable, it tests you, and it refines you. But without leaving comfort behind, you will never experience the refinement necessary for your calling. Fear often hides behind comfort. It whispers, stay where it's safe, stay where it's familiar, don't risk too much. Fear convinces you that leaving comfort is dangerous, when in reality, staying in comfort is far riskier because it slowly erodes your potential. Your dreams, your talents, and your calling require you to trust yourself, trust your process, and trust that growth demands more than convenience. Fear and comfort often travel together, but purpose asks you to separate from both. Releasing comfort is also about embracing faith. You may not see the entire path ahead, and that uncertainty can feel paralyzing. Yet your calling will never wait for clarity. It is activated by obedience. Faith is what allows you to take steps even when the road is unclear, even when resources are limited, and even when outcomes are uncertain. Every act of courage to leave comfort behind strengthens faith because it reinforces the truth that your future is bigger than your present ease. Comfort can take many forms. It may appear as a predictable schedule, familiar people, or a steady income. It may appear as habits that are convenient, routines that are effortless, or relationships that feel safe. While these things are not inherently wrong, they become obstacles when they replace challenge, growth, and alignment with purpose. True fulfillment requires that you evaluate every area of life and ask whether comfort is helping or hindering your calling. The journey to purpose also requires persistence and discomfort. Growth does not happen overnight. Leaving comfort behind often leads to periods of uncertainty. You may face resistance, criticism, or doubt, both internal and external. Yet these are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are indicators that you are stepping into something greater. Every moment you persist in discomfort is a moment you are shaping strength, character, and clarity. Releasing comfort requires decisiveness. It is not enough to recognize that comfort is holding you back. You must act. You must make choices that align with your calling rather than your ease. Decisions about where you live, what you pursue, who you associate with, and how you invest your time all impact your ability to access purpose. Each choice to step out of comfort, no matter how small, builds momentum toward your calling. It is important to understand that discomfort is temporary. The rewards of stepping into your calling are lasting. The unease of leaving safety is momentary compared to the fulfillment, impact, and legacy of purpose. Growth always requires stretching beyond current limitations. Your talents, vision, and influence are waiting on the other side of discomfort. Comfort may feel like security, but your calling offers significance. Releasing comfort also teaches resilience. Every challenge, every risk, every uncomfortable step strengthens your capacity to handle greater responsibility. The more you practice leaving comfort, the more capable you become of navigating uncertainty, overcoming obstacles, and embracing opportunities that align with your calling. Resilience is not accidental. It is forged in the willingness to step out of ease and into action. Your calling will never wait for you to feel completely ready. It will always present new opportunities, tests, and demands. Waiting for the perfect moment, the ideal conditions, total certainty keeps you trapped in comfort. Purpose is activated by action, and action often feels uncomfortable at first. The discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that growth is occurring, that faith is being exercised, and that destiny is unfolding. In conclusion, comfort is not your enemy, but it is a limiting factor when it replaces courage, growth, and purpose. To access your calling, you must release the familiar. Embrace discomfort and step into the unknown with faith and determination. Every act of courage, every decision to leave safety behind, every moment you endure discomfort strengthens your ability to fulfill your destiny. The life you are called to live exists beyond comfort, and it will require sacrifice, persistence, and trust. Release comfort to access your calling. Let go of what feels easy so you can grasp what is extraordinary. Step into the unfamiliar with courage, walk through uncertainty with faith, and persist through discomfort with resilience. Your purpose will not be fulfilled in safety. It is waiting for you where growth, challenge, and bold action meet. Comfort will whisper for you to stay, but destiny will call you forward. Choose the call. Choose growth. Choose your purpose. Life is constantly moving. Time waits for no one. Opportunities, breakthroughs, and the next level of your life do not arrive by accident. They come to those who are prepared, who are aligned, and who have positioned themselves in advance. Positioning yourself is about more than ambition. It is about intentional preparation, strategic alignment, and readiness to seize what is already on its way. What you do today determines whether you will be ready for the next season, the next opportunity, and the next breakthrough. Many people wait for circumstances to change before they act. They wait for the perfect moment, the ideal conditions, or external validation. Yet life rarely presents perfect conditions. Opportunities favor those who are proactive, not passive. Positioning is the act of preparing now for what is coming later. It is about taking steps today that will allow you to walk confidently into the future without being caught off guard. Waiting for the world to hand you opportunity is a recipe for regret. Those who succeed understand that preparation precedes promotion. Positioning begins with mindset. You must cultivate a vision for the next season of your life, even if it is not yet visible. You must anticipate the doors that will open, the responsibilities that will arise, and the challenges you may face. Forward-thinking mindset allows you to act with intentionality rather than react with desperation. When you think ahead, you make decisions not just for the present, but for the future you are building. Your mind becomes a blueprint, and your actions become the construction tools. Action is the second critical component. Positioning is not passive. It requires consistent effort, deliberate choices, and daily investment. Every skill you develop, every relationship you nurture, every habit you form today has the potential to impact what you can access tomorrow. Waiting for readiness without preparation guarantees that when opportunity arrives, you will be unprepared. Those who position themselves act before the moment arrives so that when the moment comes, they are ready to step in confidently. Positioning yourself also involves evaluating your environment. Surround yourself with people, resources, and influences that support growth, vision, and progress. Toxic relationships, distractions, and environments that promote mediocrity can sabotage your readiness. People and spaces you align with today will shape your capacity for tomorrow. Positioning requires intentional curation, placing yourself in circles that challenge, support, and elevate you while removing what limits or drains you. Skill development is another essential aspect of positioning. The world is changing constantly, and new opportunities often require new abilities. Investing in yourself through learning, training, and experience ensures that when doors open, you are equipped to walk through them. Consistent self-improvement positions you ahead of the crowd and allows you to respond effectively to demands that others may be unprepared for. Skill without preparation is wasted potential. Preparation without skill is incomplete. Faith and vision go hand in hand with positioning. You must believe that the next season is coming, even if you cannot see it yet. Faith gives purpose to preparation, motivates action even when progress seems slow and circumstances seem stagnant. Those who are positioned mentally, spiritually, emotionally will recognize opportunity when it appears and will act decisively because they have been expecting it, preparing for it, believing it was coming all along. Positioning is also about financial and resource readiness. Opportunities often require resources, money, time, connections, or knowledge. Strategic planning, saving, and investing are not just about security. They are about creating the capacity to act decisively when the next season arrives. The person who positions themselves financially will not be paralyzed by unexpected opportunities or emergencies. They are ready to respond, leverage, act with confidence. Character and integrity are vital components of positioning. Doors may open. What you carry inside determines whether you are allowed to walk through them. Your reputation, your reliability, and your credibility are all assets that position you for influence, responsibility, and leadership. Opportunities often favor those whose character is aligned with the demands of the next level. Consistent ethical behavior, honesty, and accountability build the trust necessary for doors to open that skill and resources alone cannot unlock. Patience is a silent but powerful part of positioning. Preparation often takes time, and the results of your effort may not be immediately visible. Yet every step, every discipline, every investment compounds into readiness. Impatience often leads to shortcuts, misalignment, and missed opportunities. Positioning requires endurance, a willingness to labor in obscurity and act consistently until the moment arrives when your preparation aligns perfectly with opportunity. Positioning is also about vision alignment. You must understand not only where you are going, but why you are going there. Clarity of purpose guides decisions, actions, and priorities. Without vision, preparation can be scattered and ineffective. With vision, every choice, relationship, and effort is intentional. Positioning requires that you see the horizon, identify the opportunities that will be available, adjust your current trajectory so that you arrive at the right time in the right place, ready to act. Adaptability is another key element. Life is unpredictable, and the path to your next season may not be linear. Positioning yourself requires the ability to adjust, pivot, and recalibrate while remaining focused on your ultimate goal. Rigidity limits growth, flexibility enhances it. Being positioned means not just being ready for one version of opportunity, but being prepared to recognize and seize multiple possibilities as they arise. Finally, positioning yourself now is an act of faith in your future self. It is a declaration that you are committed to growth, readiness, and opportunity. It is a recognition that your future will reward effort, foresight, and preparation. When you position yourself strategically, you are no longer at the mercy of chance or circumstance. You are at the helm of your destiny. You become the architect of your next season, shaping it intentionally rather than hoping it unfolds by accident. In conclusion, the life you desire, the opportunities you dream of, the breakthroughs you are waiting for are all on the horizon, but they will not wait indefinitely. You must position yourself now. Develop your skills, strengthen your faith, build your resources, cultivate your character, and align your vision. Surround yourself with the right people and remove what drains you. Act consistently even when results are unseen. Be patient, persistent, and flexible. Positioning is not passive hope, it is intentional preparation. Your next season is already on its way. Your future is being written by the choices you make today. The question is, are you preparing or are you waiting? Position yourself now, and when opportunity arrives, you will step into it fully equipped, fully confident, fully ready to claim the life that has been waiting for you. Your preparation today is your power tomorrow. Do not delay. Align, act. Position yourself now for what is coming next.